Hello humans and welcome. I'm Rock99 and I'm here for you with a new video. Today we'll talk about what I believe is one of the franchises with actually the best examples of how to make good video games. I've been thinking this for a while, and it has been recently confirmed by the franchise's new and very recent entry. Of course, I'm talking about Splatoon. If I haven't made it obvious already, I really do like Splatoon. But I'll try to be objective and explain why this is one of the best franchises created in my personal and very relevant opinion. But enough with the intro and let's start already. Splatoon's franchise began in 2015 as a third-person shooter video game for Nintendo Wii U. It was created by Hisashi Nogami and developed by Nintendo. It soon became one of the fifth fastest-selling Wii U games, and it was also recognized as the most successful new home console intellectual property in Japan. Another interesting fact is that the team behind its development had the youngest members compared to the teams that work on other projects. The game is set in a post-apocalyptic world where humanity has faced extinction due to the ocean's level rising. So thousands of years later, various sea creatures evolved to the point of creating a complex society and replacing humans on the surface. The main story is set a century after the so-called Great Turf War between Inklings and Octarians. The first ones are anthropomorphic beings capable to change from a humanoid form to a squid form, while the others are a race of octopuses. Within these, there are Octolings who, like Inklings, can change between their humanoid and octopus form. Their battles, we can say, are more or less paintball matches, during which they fight with a variety of weapons that shoot colored ink. These creatures, while in their squid or octopus form, can swim in the ink of their own color, and an interesting characteristic of this ink is that it disappears after every battle. In the games, the player can choose and customize an avatar that can be either an Inkling or an Octoling, and with their character, the player can play through a lot of different gameplay modes. An entire video could be made just to talk about these modes, but here I'll just say that the game is composed by two main modes, single player or hero campaign, and multiplayer. It is clear how the core of Splatoon's games is their multiplayer mode, that not only allows to play with your friends and people from all over the world, but it enriches the player's experience with constant updates and monthly events called Splatfests. During these online events, players are asked a binary question, like rice or bread, or cats or dogs, but with the introduction of three-color matches in Splatoon 3, now the choices available are three. And in online matches, teams are organized according to the chosen side. The outcome of a Splatfest doesn't affect the game itself, but the last one held in 2016 in Splatoon determined the villain for Splatoon 2, while the last Splatfest in Splatoon 2 ended up choosing Splatoon 3 team. What's interesting is that Splatoon's official manga included these two Splatfests. On the other hand, single-player mode is the opportunity for players to experience an incredibly well-structured world with its history, cultures, conflicts, and like every other respectable Nintendo franchise, its dark and disturbing details that cause trauma to your young self. Holy Judd. If multiplayer mode gives you up gameplay with near to unlimited customization options, making every match different and unpredictable, Hero Campaign is a perfectly structured action-adventure 3D platform with stages and enemies that gradually rise their complexity and difficulty levels as the player makes progress. Thanks to which arcane magic that thing can fly? All this is added to a relatively simple but good story filled with hilarious gags, bosses, and characters. DJ Octavio is the best villain ever. Look at him vibing on the music of his enemies. In the Japanese version, his name is General Takowaza, and Takowaza is actually the name of a Japanese dish made of octopus and wasabi, and that's why he plays his console with wasabi roots. Man, the genius behind this game. One thing that I personally really appreciated is how in the games the character that represents the player in the first Splatoon, Agent 3, keeps returning. The developers remember that Agent 3 used to be you, you the player, so I'm always pleasantly surprised when games allows you to customize Agent 3, like back in Splatoon. Even if this may be considered just a little detail, for me not only makes sense, but it also so satisfying. It is so good to know that all that you did as the main character in the previous games has been meaningful for the new ones. And it's also satisfying to know that you haven't been replaced by a canonical character because of narrative convenience. Isn't that right, God Eater? Basically, every Splatoon video game has this multiplayer and single-player structure, even if the gameplay has been improved and new features, modes, and mechanics have been renewed and added throughout the years. If I want to criticize something, I'd say that Splatoon 2 Hero Mode story is almost identical to its prequel, and this annoys me a little. But developers made it on purpose. You can understand this clearly when in Splatoon 3 Hero Campaign, it looked like it was gonna be the same story all over again, with Captain Cuttlefish openly pointing that out, just for the game to suddenly drop the player in a completely new environment. So this is not really a problem or a lack of originality, it's just me whining and being easily bored. Now, why do I think that Splatoon's games are the best example of how video games should be? It's simple. These games have everything. Everything, I tell you. I mean, Splatoon has customization, competition, teamwork. It has a single player gameplay, a multiplayer gameplay, a ranking system to prove how good you are at playing, a DLC that actually expands the main story and lore. It is original and unlike other games of the same genre. It is funny, it is creepy, it has a story and an entire incredibly well-built world, all to explore. And lastly, under all of this colorful ink, it has deep important messages. If we think about the references to humans causing a fifth world war and ultimately increasing the sea levels to the point they face extinction. Not to mention how it is pointed out the importance of eco-friendliness, with this particular characteristic of the ink disappearing instead of dirtying the air. What I think is important about the games is also that everything that has been introduced has a purpose that makes sense in this fictional world, and that everything is smartly used to add new features or to tell more about the story. Seriously, maybe it is because I was too distracted by the beautiful ugliness of Salmonids, but I totally didn't expect that what appeared to be just another gameplay mode in Splatoon 2 could have such a huge importance for Splatoon 3's story. Well, I have to admit it is just me not noticing obvious scenes indeed. Because as I made the researches, I found plenty of theories about Salmon Run's mode. So maybe that was predictable, but I didn't expect it at all, so I went crazy when I realized. This is genius. Anyway, on top of everything I said until now, another thing I think is really important for a game is that it can be played by everybody, literally everybody. Nintendo is unbeatable on this concept. Everybody can play Splatoon's games, and not only because its mechanics are relatively simple and it is family friendly. Mostly. But also because their different gameplay modes adapt to the kind of player and person you are. If you're someone that likes to play with your friends and others, or that likes to enjoy a story of their own, or that just prefers to cope with friends without competing against others. Developers have also been so careful to add hints and details for those who would like to explore and find informations and mysteries that reveal that there is much more stuff going on than what it is shown directly to you by the game. Seriously, these games have everything, and are really planned for everybody to enjoy. Another thing that needs to be pointed out is that the games aren't the only thing that makes Splatoon's franchise great and suitable for everybody. In fact, the games have idols that are also real digital idols that have their own concerts in Japan, not to mention all the illustrated art books and the mangas. I really want to suggest reading Splatoon's manga, the one by Sankichi Hinodeya, because it is a very good and extremely hilarious addition to the games. It has more content and actually creates plots revolving around the multiplayer modes, and rankings too, while also going through the stories of the hero campaigns. It is still ongoing and its main target are children and kids, considering the kind of gags and jokes made, but it is funny, really, really funny, and it actually is a way to experience the games differently, since the matches the main characters have to face are explained and illustrated just like you see them in the games. And the manga also talks about strategies, so it really is interesting. Can I sing for this squid? One of my hopes for the future of this franchise is that they make an anime adaptation of the manga, because it already has an anime-like visual and structure, so it's basically all done. Nintendo, just make the anime already, please. Alright, with that said, this is all I have about this franchise for now. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe for more, and let me know in the comments what you think, if you agree or disagree with what I said, or if there's something in particular you'd like to mention. For more content and to know more about my reviews, follow me on socials too. You found the links in the description. Thank you again and see you soon. Bye!